When I first watched the show, Applejack was my first favorite character until I started latching on to Twilight and Rainbow Dash being my next favorites. My feelings on Applejack started declining because of her lack of expansion and wasted potential, not to mention very little of her episodes were around or never did any favors for her. And this was a major letdown to me because the writers didn't seem to add much of anything other than she's a farmer. And as if that wasn't enough, no one wanted her episodes anymore. The big thing I want to see here is character expansion and character development, and so far, Applejack has had very little of it. But every step of the way, she is slowly but surely progressing in Season 4. One of the major big examples is Pinkie Apple-Pie, a cross episode of her and Pinkie. After viewing it, I felt very optimistic and happy. That's how much I was impressed with it. It was an episode about family, leaving an impression, and exploring an exciting answer in regards to what Pinkie was hoping to see. This was the episode Apple Family Reunion should have been. It's sweet, pleasantly well-paced. It's a simple filler that kept me engaged from there on out. We start off with Pinkie looking through the scroll when Twilight was studying genealogy. Why was she studying that instead of finding out information on the key box? I have no idea. Pinkie finds a piece of information on a scroll that may prove that she's a part of the Apple family trait. Immediately and excitingly, she runs to Applejack before the opening scene plays. At first, I felt crept out by the way she appeared, but given that she and Applejack knew each other for a long time, I felt rather excited along with.
I have another sister! I have another sister! Well, you actually have a fourth cousin twice removed by a fifth cousin, but that's like exactly like a sister!
I mean, if a good friend of yours has a connected family trait, there's something warming inside about it that excites you. Unless that friend of yours acts too unacceptable from everyone else. But that isn't the case here. However, Applejack isn't completely sure and starts looking through the scroll. Pinkie insists on showing the line that supposedly proves her family trait. Unfortunately, the line is left completely smudged, unable to be read. Thankfully, Applejack knows a relative who has a book of her family tree named Golden Delicious, so they all plan a road trip to pay a visit and find out the answer from there. In advance, Applejack and the family strive to leave a good impression to Pinkie so that she won't get discouraged. This is one of the first major points that fascinated me. Unlike Apple Family Reunion, where too much of Applejack's desperations making a good time interrupts the many family members that we all got to know very little of, the family here is all equally served for the purpose and conflict. As they embark on their trip, they stumble upon some issues that each are merely responsible for. At the time, Applejack does what she can to keep herself under control with the rest of the members. It's a believable situation because these things happen realistically in life, family obligations and issues that overwhelm one another. Meanwhile, Pinkie Pie remains very optimistic the whole way, regardless of what the family is struggling with. She makes the best out of any mishaps that can be perceived differently, from the scary tunnel to the giant waterfall. At times I found her being a little too oblivious at times, which hurts the episode a bit. At the arrival of Golden's home, she looks at a note at the door only to admire the texture of the paper instead of actually reading it. But she still comes out pretty resourceful. At one point she advises the family to change the carriage and build it into a raft, and travel on the river in order to reach Golden. She keeps a book of memories for almost everything she's been with and remains optimistic. I should also go over the song in this episode, Apples to the Core.
We've traveled the road of generations, joined by a common bond. We sing our song across the Pony Nation from Equestria and beyond. We're apples forever, apples together. We're family, but so much more. No matter what comes, we will face the weather. We're apples to the core.
I remember seeing this from the Comic-Con previews and was very excited to hear it again, only fully animated. And it didn't disappoint. Just when I thought that Hearts as Strong as Horses was catching upbeat, Apples to the Core did it so much it brought me tears of joy. Literally. It was a simple and emotional tune that connected with the plot of the story and how much of a value the family is. To this day, I still enjoy hearing this song, and it's become one of my favorite songs of Season 4, if not the entire series. Nearing to the end, the answer to whether or not Pinkie's a part of the family trait is still undefined, but Applejack nevertheless accepts Pinkie based on her productivity. At first I was skeptical about that, but when speculating Golden, the episode played good hints that may indicate Pinkie could be a part of the family based on the similar looks and actions she's carried. Differently, however, based on Pinkie's position as a farmer in Magical Mystery Cure, there's a possible indication that she may not be a part of the family and it could be a mistake. But putting aside my skepticism, it's a nice way to end the episode on a vague note where it's left up to the viewers to decide. Unless a later episode further clarifies that. The actual moral of the episode was that no family is ever perfect, which was on behalf of Applejack and her family's commitments. Other messages I was able to dig out was that even in the worst case scenarios you can make the best out of them, and Pinkie was there to show the way. each of which I felt were very well balanced and played out pretty well. The downer, though, was that a squirrel was left on a tree covered in sap and no one does anything to help him out. There was also a scene where a duck took a broken steering wheel and was swapped away by an eagle, and then again we see the same duck flying somewhere else. Maybe that could be a different one, I don't know. If the animators could just erase the squirrel, I would have been fine with that, as it doesn't really affect much of the story overall. Putting aside that though, this was an episode that I highly appreciated, definitely one of my favorites of Season 4 thus far. And now the next episode, we're diving into Rainbow Falls. And that's not going to end very well. Until next time, I'll catch you all later.